we are as a country.
I think Nigeria has resorted to being resilient.
Before you call a police station, before they even leave, they'll take permission from.
I don't think there's really anything on ground to improve.
We struggled, as to strike.
The Minister of Education volunteered and said, give me 2 weeks.
It was a lie. The president never gave me any deadline.
A very good morning to you all, our viewers, and many thanks for tuning in and joining us here in Global Television. And of course, a pleasure to have you join us on the program this morning. Today is the 5th day of the month of September 2024. And of course, we understand the importance of seeing a new day and recognizing the fact that, in all of what is happening in the country, we are resolute. And of course, our spirit of resilience is still very strong, in order for us to keep on pushing to where we will definitely get the country of our dreams and to achieve much for our very life. It's a pleasure to welcome you this morning on our program. Of course, we will begin first with the newspapers very shortly to have you with the headlines and the stories on the front pages of the newspaper this morning, which of course will be the starting point of the program this morning. So do well to stick around. Shortly after this break, we'll bring you the papers for you this morning. Do stay with us. You're still with us here on Global Morning, where we'll take a look at big stories and, of course, what the headlines really have for us this morning. And, of course, I do have joining me this morning, Dr. Bartholomew Abechino, of course, very elder statesman in the country. Thanks so much, Doctor, for finding time to join us very briefly this morning.
You're welcome.
And, of course, I'm not just going to be doing this alone. I have my colleague here.
Good morning, Mike.
Thanks so much, Queen. Of course, we get started with what the headlines really have for us this morning. I understand most of the headlines will definitely be reflecting, the concerns of fuel queues and all of that. Let's get started.
Like you rightly said, the headlines have concerns around fuel queues and what's happening, what's bothering Nigerians. On the front page, our first point of call will be the Guardian newspaper. On the front page of the Guardian newspaper, big story says fuel queue as pump price increases. Nigerians react as pump price increases. Let's take your reaction. The Vanguard, I beg your pardon, the Vanguard newspaper, big story on the Vanguard newspaper says that Nigerians react as pump price. And
also have Shetima inaugurates $115 million upgraded West Africa container terminal. That's on page 20 of the Vanguard newspaper.
Also on the Vanguard newspaper, petrol price hike, Nasima, LCCI, NECA worry over jobs and the economy. Also, Nenadi, I beg your pardon, Nenadi Usman emerges interim chairperson of Labour Party. Also on The Guardian, we have APM's container terminal commissioned in Onne. Right there on the big story where we have petrol hike and Nasima, LCCI, NECA worry over jobs and economy, says hike in price tails to improve supply. Clear queues. Nasima, OPS worry over impact on businesses, citizens, job losses and others loom. LCCI, Asbon. Hike will worsen poverty, according to NECA, and Action Aid worries over pump price hike. Goods, services to cost more. So these are the stories we have on the front page of the Vanguard newspaper, and also on The Nation. Other papers we see as well that the big stories there are still on queues. Queues persist, commuters stuck despite petrol price hike. Your reaction, getting to work, the past few days you have been out there, you've seen how people commute. I mean, you've had to commute and all that. I'm sure you've also had to join queues at one point or the other to get fuel. Like?
Absolutely. I mean, our heart really goes out for those who happen to always be on the street, who happens to always, be commuting the cities, towards and fro every day. Because right now, even if you're not just with your vehicle, you have to pay more, over 50% increase right now on the transportation fare. Where probably a space of where previously 1,000 naira, 500 naira has skyrocketed very automatically at the last 24 hours. So it therefore really shows that, it's more of taking Nigeria backward. Nigerians are saying we do not even had enough. Now that you've increased the fuel price, how do we begin to cope? Doctor, I understand probably Nigerians are saying we've not been in this situation before. In never a time that things have been this really, really hard. And what does it really look? Because if you understand the grounds of government, a government subsidy, had to remove subsidy so as to be able to fight, the corruptions of people trying to take advantage of that. But in no way, we've seen the hardship, untold hardship on Nigerians. Doctor, I want to get your perspective on that.
As a matter of fact, when Nigerians say they have never had this bad before, it's not a matter of not just having it bad before. Nobody dreamt of it. Nobody dreamt of a situation of this kind ever. Because the skyrocketing situation that we are experiencing, nobody expected it. Since the birth of Nigeria, as a matter of fact, things have been changing for the worse. But it had been gradual. This one is so astronomical, and it's very difficult for Nigerians to cope with. It's only those whom God has said should live. If not, living is very, very difficult at the moment. For me, per se, it's difficult for me, not to talk a lot of others that are by far below my own status. So as a matter of fact, the situations in Nigeria at the moment is highly unimaginable.
A very big concern because just as you've seen on the papers, it looks at one way or the other, NNPC are probably not very sincere to Nigerians. So some persons said, I mean, we can't make Nigerians to pay for probably the mismanagement of the sector. Do you feel that there's recklessness there? Because some people are saying, oh, Mr. President, you have to sack the NNPC chairman. Probably he knows what is happening in the sector and all of that. That's what really the papers are also having react this morning.
Do we talk about the NNPC?
Because they're the ones that are
when you are
controlling the
walking,
market.
when you are walking in the broad daylight and you hit your leg against a stone, you blame the brain. Because you, as an individual, you are coordinated by the brain. The NNPC is just there as a stooge. It's the federal government that is controlling everything. During this end bad governance, see what the police were doing. You think it was the police that were doing those things? If it were the police that were doing those things, let the federal government call them to order. The commissioner of police seized phone from a journalist, and the federal government kept quiet. The protesters were tear-gassed by the police. The federal government kept quiet. The judge issued a command that protesters should not be given to freedom of gathering. The federal government kept quiet. This is not coming from the federal government. Anything the NNPC does has been remote controlled by the federal government. If the federal government makes up her mind and say it will be like this, what is NNPC? So my take on it is the whole activities have been remote controlled.
Okay, the nation is our next point of call. Let's look at what the headlines we have on the nation. We still have queues persist and commuters talk following petrol price hike. Above the nameplate, we have Abure clashes with OB over setting up of interim exco. We also have NEC gives FCT, Kwara, 3 others. Monday, deadline on state please. Chinese firm to build Lekki Ekpe Link Bridge. Sanwo-Olu signs pact. Federal government kicks off consumer credit with 500,000 beneficiaries. Lastly, on the nation, we have Lagos extends work from home policy. Police school squad for Abuja. These are the stories we have on the pages of the nation.
All right, let's just take up from state police. I mean, insecurity is on the rise. So for NEC yesterday, they had a meeting trying to give instructions on steps to give some reports. So I understand some said, I mean, are not in any way backing that particular move by the federal government. For you, do you feel that issues of insecurity is about state policing? And would that also not increase, some level of mismanagement from the state? Because we've also seen where probably we are afraid that it will not become a stew for state governors, to begin to use in abating some of these issues. But in real essence, the intentions is to fight level of insecurity, which some persons said insecurity is local. So we must have a local means of combating them. What's the concern about that call?
As for the community policing, I am not against that. If the community can come together and arrange securities for themselves. But what I stand here and now to tell us is the position of the federal government as a whole. even if there are state police and the federal government wants to have her way, they will still have their way and disrupt things. But what actually I would like us to know, those who are at the helm of affairs in the Nigerian nationhood, let us be patriotic. Let us be patriotic. This issue of security imbroglio is as a result of the insincerity of the federal government. Not if the federal government is sincere and they are all out to do what they promise the electorates that elected them into offices. Do we need the state police? Is it that the federal government cannot do what they are supposed to do? They can. They can. Mike, it bogs my mind and it keeps me shedding tears when I learned that the armored tank, the military armored tank, 2 of them were seized by the bandits.
And we saw a viral video of them rejoicing over
yes,
that seizure.
And the defense that the military came to give was that those armored tankers, armored vehicles were demobilized so that the bandits would not be able to use them. They demobilized them and ran away from them for the bandits to come and take over. It's absurd. The federal government military is absurd. How will you take such a story for people to listen to? Is it that the military are now saying that the bandits have overpowered them? No, it's a matter of the will. It's a matter of the will. And where the thing is situated is, let the federal government be patriotic for once and mean what they set out to do. Nigeria will be well.
All right, thank you, Doc. Our next point of call will be Daily Trust. Big story still on petrol price hike. Transport fares surges 50% nationwide. We also have commuters express worry. Protest breaks out in Delta. Inflation may rise further, according to Manufacturers Association of Nigeria, MAN. Afenifere PDP demand reversal of increase. TUC asks government to rescind decision. Tinubu didn't bargain fuel price for minimum wage. Presidency tells NLC. Also, above, just underneath the nameplate, we have Gbajabiamila can't take over National Assembly's oversight role, according to the reps. And also, state police submit reports in 6 days. NEC tells 4 states and the FCC. Nigeria complex but not difficult to govern, according to Obasanjo. Also, gunmen attack 2 Plateau communities, kill 7. Banks' loans to private sector hit 2.3 trillion naira in 1 month. And lastly, before the last, we have Africa a good place for investment. Tinubu tells Chinese investors. And lastly, we have insecurity in our region must end now. ACF and northern leaders are saying. These are the stories we have. This one struck my attention. The Plateau State killing. 2 gunmen attacked 2 communities in Plateau State and they killed 7. Plateau State has been in the news for quite some time now. Remember the people in the farms that were attacked. The insecurity and the insurgencies, particularly in the north, that is rising. Are we saying now that militaries, yesterday we were talking about farmers who the military had deployed troops, to go guide them. I was asking how effective is that? For how long or how many farmers can this army protect at a time? Is that a way in the right direction, or how best can that, help to cushion the effect of some of these crises that we face, Doc?
I've said it time without number, and I will keep saying it. The issue of security in the country, the issue of the willpower of the federal government. Those who are causing all these nuisance, if the federal government wants to crush them within 24 hours, they are gone. Because the federal government has the drones, they have the choppers. The rhetorical question that stares us at the face, does the federal government mean what they are doing? Day in, day out, you hear of so many bandits that have been captured by the police, by the army. They will come tell you stories today. We got about 2 bandits. We got about... Is it getting about 2 bandits that we're talking about? We're talking about flushing them out completely. Don't you have the powers to do that? That is the question. If you don't have the powers to do that, then let's look for how to furnish ourselves with strength. What is the issue of sending out soldiers to guide farmers? Sending out soldiers to guide farmers. Can you guide all the farmers? Farming activities in Nigeria majorly is by subsistency, where you have them in bees. In a local government, you can have about 500 farmers going to farm in different places. How can the police go to guide them? Nigeria has developed beyond that. You can sit down in a place and see what is happening all over Nigeria. If Nigeria has the willpower, they will be able to crush terrorism, banditry, and several other people that are causing menaces. So the idea of sending soldiers to go and guide farmers, I don't think that is a serious change to me.
All right. I mean, let's just react to the statement of Obasanjo. Nigeria is so complex. The complexity of Nigeria probably it's not easy to rule. It's not easy to lead. Then probably we may reflect a bit during his time as a president on some of those things and the policies he was able to introduce, probably that were applaudable. But it looks that for the past 8 years or 9 years or thereabout in the country, Nigerians have been really been beaten about policies of government. Is it about the complexity? I mean, looking at all the regions of the country, the agitations from the southeast, the agitation from these quarters and all of that, even when some person really feels, oh, you've not done well in this area, you are making one-sided appointment. How do you think a president can rule the country so as not to really be, complex?
I'm not on the same page with Obasanjo when he says Nigeria is a complex place.
But it's easy to... Nigeria complex.
Yes, I'm coming there. In the first instance, let me take it up from the complexity. Nigeria is not a complex place. It's the rulers that make Nigeria complex. For instance, Obasanjo per se, the memory has not eluded our minds so quickly. When Obasanjo was there, he was so brutal than we are seeing now. He was so brutal with PDP than what we are seeing now. Was it not during Obasanjo that almost the Southwest were converted to PDP? Hello, Mike, are you with me? If he wanted to take any state, he will go and take it. No matter what you do, he will go and take it.
Was that democratic enough?
No, how is it democratic? And Obasanjo felt he was on top of the world in everything. And even after his tenure had expired, he wanted a third tenure. That event has not eluded our mind so quickly. It was that scenario that he set that several other people that came after him were following. Obasanjo was so brutal, and that was why he fell out with his vice. He also fell out with the Senate President Okadigbo. This thing has not eluded our mind. And most of these leaders, the time they are there, they don't feel that they will ever live there. And when they live there, and new people come in, they will begin to criticize what the new people are doing. I'm equally taking this time to appeal to our father, the President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, Senator Ahmed Bola Tinubu, that he should reason that one day he will still become like Obasanjo. He will still become like Obasanjo. If Obasanjo is saying Nigeria is complex, he contributed to the complexity of Nigeria as we are seeing it now. Nigeria is not complex. The people of Nigeria are easygoing people to rule. If we play the game by the rule, if we obey the Constitution, we don't obey the Constitution. When we come, we try to maneuver the Constitution to suit our selfish aim. That is what brings the complexity inside. If not, Nigeria on its own, the citizens of Nigeria, they are easygoing set of people to govern.
No, there have been reactions from people saying that the Constitution, the 1999 Constitution, should be changed. The Constitution that we've always followed is what of
it's not people-centric enough.
Yes, yes, and bringing these complexities that we see. Are you also of that school of thought?
If they want to change the Constitution, fine. If they want to amend the Constitution, fine. If they want to reform the Constitution, fine. But what I always stand to tell the people is that we ourselves, we are the better form of the Constitution. Before we talk about the lettering, we talk about our figures, we talk about ourselves. No matter how you change the Constitution, evil people can still play tactics around it. They can still play tactics around it. When they want to turn the white to become black, and the judge that is there has an aim. When he says yes, even when it is no, the yes stands. If he says it is black, even if the case is well argued, it remains black. And to me, the Constitution is not the issue. We ourselves, we are the issue. Let us reform ourselves. Let us get into a round table discussion and examine ourselves whether we are patriotic the way we claim to be. If patriotism is brought to the fore and we really practice patriotism, then the issue of the Constitution is a forgotten matter.
Thank you, Doc. Let's look at the Guardian newspaper, the front page of the Guardian newspaper. Big story, as usual, outrage as high cost of petrol scarcity push businesses to brink. Tinubu woos Chinese investors, says Africa holds opportunities for growth. NEC sets deadline for state police report, releases 3 billion naira flood relief funds. Obasanjo, Ayoku, others lament impunity and poor leadership. Federal government reviews prisoners' feeding allowance by 50%, raises budget to 5 billion naira. Buhari, northern governors, Saudi Arabia condemn Yobe killings. Gates warns of rising misery, says Nigeria spends less per capita on its people. Okay, we have Shetima inaugurates $115 million upgraded APM terminal in Onne, and also over half of sponsored bills in National Assembly in last 1 year recycled. Mike, which of these stories do you want to react to?
Yeah, very quickly. There are a whole lot of concern about businesses in the country right now. Most very concerning about the recent hike in fuel. And looking at the capacity of government can really employ enough. So it therefore means that the private sector have to be up and doing. How do you begin to assess this impact of seeing some level of lingering information about increasing of VAT, to 10%? Many people are kicking against it. Some of the policies of government. the issue of electricity tariff increase and all of that. Do you feel that they are taxing Nigerians too much? Because there have been an outcry that businesses are folding up day by day, which are the ones that are contributing to our revenues. What's your concern about taxation?
They are taxing the Nigerians too much. And the issue there, these taxes that are coming, if they are judiciously used, we don't have any problem. These tax sources that are coming, if they are judiciously used, we don't have any problem. When was that? Around in the 16th century, when America was discovered in the 15th century, several business moguls that were in the Western Europe, they were paying huge taxes. Some countries like Spain, France, the UK. When America was discovered, they decided to go to the place where taxation will be eased off for their businesses to thrive. Industries were moved down there. And America started developing. They started taxing the industrialists, and the money realized from the taxation were being judiciously used. That was what eventually culminated in what America is today. Now, all these taxes that they are collecting from people, what are they using it for? Taxes are being increased day in, day out, and we don't see Nigeria bettered off. So the big problem we have in Nigeria is insincerity. Insincerity. As many people as scamper to get into political offices, they don't do that to develop Nigeria. They do that to develop their pockets. That has been my problem. So, Mike, in answer to your question, I am not in support of increase in taxes. And number two, if the increase in taxes becomes inevitable, then I urge Nigerians to use the money realized from taxing judiciously.
I think there is a story about Buhari condemning the killings in Yobe State. And then some people begin to ask, as a former president, you were in that particular seat, you understood better as the chief commander. What were you able to do? We also have the concern where, you earlier had raised that where people, upon leaving office, always having to, blame, criticize, or suggest fantastic ideas. Why do we keep recycling, this method of leadership, which some person said, is not helping us? When you were there, what were you doing and what were you able to do? Can you judge the, security achievement of the former administration under former President Buhari?
The problem we have in Nigeria is such that those at the helms of affairs, by the moment they move out from governance, they don't hold them accountable. They don't hold them accountable. All the people that have pioneered the affairs of Nigeria.
Well, is it because of the immunity of the president?
I don't know. I don't know for them. If not, Buhari is supposed to be invited and ask several questions. A lot of misgivings during his time. Why would he come and begin to talk about security? He just left the government. It was during his time that amnesty were granted to terrorists. Terrorists were arrested and brought. Amnesty granted them. They are released to go. So, Muhammad Buhari coming to talk about the killings in Yobe as of today? Is it because the place is close to his area? If that killing were done in Enugu, would he pass that comment? So, Mr. Mike, you can now see what I was saying. Those in government, and as we are seeing our father now, Senator Ahmed Bola Tinubu, by the moment his own tenure is over, and a new person come, he too will come and begin to complain. We need to be patriotic. Muhammad Buhari, General Muhammad Buhari retired. Where were your eyes the time you were there? Were the military not able to do what to do to crush the terrorists in Yobe? The time you were there, were those terrorists not there? They were there. And you watched them for political reasons or whatever known to you. Now you are complaining. So that is the syndicate that keeps affecting Nigeria that I have always been saying.
You know, the people report that he condemns, even while he was, president during his tenure. I think it was still the same condemnation whenever there was an attack like this. President Muhammadu Buhari condemns. I think he's still condemning the killings. Nothing has changed. New Telegraph. Let's go to the New Telegraph. On the front page, big story on the New Telegraph. LCCI label. New fuel pump price will bring benefit on Nigerians. Rider says job losses, firms shut down, surge in inflation loom. Federal government to NLC, president never negotiated minimum wage with fuel price. Tinubu pushing Nigerians to the wall. PDP, according to the PDP. NLC says denial of president's offer amusing. Also, Bill Gates, Nigeria's economy has stagnated. CBN, increased interventions reduce external reserves to $36.24 billion. Imo holds emergency security meeting following attacks at killing of operatives. Petrol landing cost hits 1,100 naira per litre. Nupeng vows to defend, protect refinery from economic saboteurs. Nigerian prisons death row population hits 3,590. State police, NEC gives governors Monday ultimatum to make submissions. Council seeks collaboration among 3 tiers of government to address flooding. And 31 persons died in Kano flood, according to SEMA. Lastly, we have ACF not suffering its worst challenges. Region ready for constitutional change, says Northerners deserves apology from their leaders. These are the stories we have on the New Telegraph. Big stories, lots of stories to react to. Michael, which of them?
I mean, my concern first will just be from the part of the People's Democratic Party. They have reacted on that issue. Labour on their end are saying, federal government, you had betrayed our agreement. We had agreed 70,000 so that you will not increase the pump price of fuel. Elder, I would love your concern about People's Democratic Party's reaction right now, because if you ask the APC government, they will tell you PDP took us to where we are. We were trying to salvage the situation. On the other hand, Nigerians are saying no. It seems probably things were better, life was better when PDP were in office. And also experts and analysts will tell you, I mean, it's all over the world. Petrol price in some countries and the landing costs are, over 1,000 naira if you want to convert to what is there in the dollar to what we're having now. So it therefore means that the hardship is like a general and a global concern. Which one should we take? Should we see that federal government have betrayed Labour and Nigerians? Should we see that PDP have no grounds to, criticize what the president is doing on the grounds that probably they were trying to cite instances of political motive?
If APC said that the quagmire Nigeria is in today been orchestrated by the PDP government, I don't have any dissenting comment on that. the PDP really, they were brutal during their government.
But people said, I mean, fuel was at 150 naira, bag of rice was at
We are not talking
10,000
about
and all of
fuel. We are talking about system and setting the pedestal for path trajectory.
But Nigerians are saying about their life and hardship.
Listen to me.
I mean, life way better.
So the scenario that was set is what we are talking about. The scenario of brutality. If I want to do this thing, I go doing it without being people-centric. PDP started it. That is that one on that side. And the idea of the federal government coming to say that when they were bargaining with the NLC, they didn't bring the issue of fuel hike into their bargain of the minimum wage. The question staring them at the face is, what brought the NLC protest in the first place? Was it not as a result of the fuel hike? It was the fuel hike now, the fuel that were moved astronomically from 200 naira per liter to above 600 naira per liter. And that has changed the course of things across board. Life became so difficult for every Tom, Dick, and Harry. And Labour now said, no, we can't take this. And they went into the negotiation table. It was fuel that brought the conflict. And you now promised Labour that the idea of minimum wage will be revisited after every 3 years. What brought the idea of the minimum wage? Was it not the fuel? And after that had been settled, you went back to that fuel again. If you go back to that fuel, you are bringing Labour again to the wrestling ring. That is the normal thing. So the federal government now coming to say that we didn't talk about the fuel. I don't think that is acceptable. They are not being sincere. They have to be sincere with Nigerians. You know, the Labour was brought to the wrestling ring because of the idea of fuel. So when you now agreed with Labour and you told Labour that if we have to pay you 250,000 naira, then the fuel price may dangle between 1,500 naira and 2,000 naira. And Labour now said, instead of that, give us the 70,000, but leave the fuel where it is. Leave the fuel where it is. It is very, very clear. And after every said and done, you went back again and started touching the fuel. Started touching the fuel. If you want the lion to lie down and relax, don't touch the tail. You touch the tail of the lion, you wake the lion up. The federal government went, go touch the tiger's tail.
Doug, but let's look at the broader implications now that we see reactions for this pump price. If this hike persists, what are the implications for Nigerians?
If the hike persists, expect more mad people on the street. Let me take you back to this man, this neurosurgeon, the Austrian neurosurgeon in the 19th century, Sigmund Freud. You know, he propounded a theory called the psychoanalytic theory. The psychoanalytic theory is to conduct the psychoanalysis of a patient before attending to the patient. And in the course of the psychoanalysis, the doctor would ask the patient several questions concerning his dreams, his aspirations, his actions, both actions that are expressed and suppressed. And eventually he came to know that suppressed activities can lead to mental disorders. So when these fuel prices, when they hike up, you will notice that a lot of people who are taking 30,000 naira per month will not be able to make ends meet. And it can lead to their mental disorders. A lot of families that cannot fend for a lot of heads of families that cannot fend for their families. You will notice all of a sudden they are walking along this road and they run mental. As I'm speaking as an educationist. When problems become too much and the mind is extraordinarily bogged, it can lead to mental disorder cases. So the federal government should be prepared to build more psychiatric hospitals when these issues persist.
We won't pray to get to that level.
Okay.
So we just hope that there should be remedies and to cushion the effect of all of these hardship in the country. Let's quickly react to the issue of the trials in the court right now. The end by governance protest had ended, the first 10 days, but it looks that government are saying some people were trying to take over the government. You know, they have alleged treasonable offenses on them, and there have been trial. And we've seen NBS saying that we'll provide some free legal services to them. They are concerned that who were those that sponsored the protest? In one way or the other, government are saying it looks at people that are after this government or people that are not happy that President Tinubu is the president are trying to do everything just to be able to, cause chaos in the country. But the other hand, some people said, oh, hunger is the sponsor of the protest. Hardship was the sponsor of the protest. People who were frustrated, just as we've just enlightened. How do we begin to balance this? Also, not undermining the importance of information and security gatherings that probably the security may really may have in their disposal.
Mike, let me tell you. I said it earlier during our last edition of discussion on the state of the nation. When the federal government wants to render services to her citizens, she has to be focused. Those people that they are charging for treason, what will they be able to do? In my language, they said, Adagba iagbe
What does that mean?
Adagba iagbe. That is, an elephant doesn't listen to rumor. Or it doesn't listen to grumbling. When an elephant is moving in the wild, if you grumble, you are on your own. It doesn't listen to you. Or if you murmur, the elephant doesn't listen to you. The federal government is an elephant. What will all those people that they have arraigned in the court be able to do against his government to topple his government?
All right, we'll focus on that discussion shortly after this break. We just have to take the news. And once you're back from the news, the discussions will continue on the issues right there in the papers and the headlines this morning. And, of course, the state of the country. We'll be right back after this break. Please stay with us.